But yeah, why Chrisean still loves Blueface? Well, she loves Blueface for the same reason that she still loves Yahweh. Now that might be shocking, but I'm gonna break it down. But you see many times that Chrisean, she showed her devotion and her worship for Yahweh. And you know what I mean by Yahweh, I mean the God of the Old Testament that we know as the creator deity, the chief or patron deity of the Israelites or the Jews in the Bible. Well, I'm going to show you the connection why this association that I'm making is important. I'm using her love for Blueface as a parallel to her relationship with Yahweh. So let's break it down. She goes to both Blueface and Yahweh for love. If you know her background, you know her circumstance, her condition. She's dependent. She's vulnerable to seek out love and to be embraced. And we'll talk about why specifically love from Yahweh and from Blueface. But this is why she seeks Blueface out, and she won't stop loving Blueface because she's looking for love in a certain dynamic from a certain type of power, from a certain type of position. And that's why she, like all of the black community, like all of humanity, still seeks love from a particular powerful deity that does not love us. But the love that we receive from Yahweh, that Chrisean Rock receives from Yahweh, is the same type of love that she receives from Blueface, which is fake love. Now, in psychology, they call this love bombing. If you study anything about social psychology and emotional intelligence, when it comes to narcissists, they do something called love bombing. Well, that's what Yahweh does all throughout the Old Testament. That's what he does in life. He manipulates the need that we have for love, and he abuses us with it. Well, that's what Blueface does to Chrisean. So that's why she still loves him. Same reason why she still loves Yahweh. The next reason is because in life she is vulnerable to the idea that he created her, that Yahweh created her. Okay, that she is the creation of Yahweh. Well, in the same way, she feels like that Blueface in a certain context created her and made her of value, made her a celebrity, made her famous, made her have a identity that influences the world. Well, it'd be hard for her to abandon Yahweh who created her, right? Well, in the same way, it'd be hard for her to abandon Blueface that created her. So that's another reason. The next, and this is probably the most important reason, is the blessings. Yahweh what offers blessings. And these blessings, we can critique them and look deeply into these blessings, and we'll see how psychotic and how manipulative these blessings are. But that's the reason why Chrisean would depend and cling to and remain loving Yahweh, right? Whenever she's in her hardest times, whenever she feels like she's the most lost or downtrodden, is when she returned to seek Yahweh for his blessings, right? So the blessings that she received from Yahweh, that all humanity feels they get from Yahweh, is riches and wealth, right? So let's say money, also fame and power. So that's what she feels like for sure that she's praying and she's seeking and she's worshiping Yahweh and thanking Yahweh for. Well, in the same way, that's what Blueface offers and provides. Money, fame, and power. The same type of manipulative exchange from a malevolent, deceitful deity, whether it be Blueface or Yahweh. Next is that all of us humans, and Chrisean as well, most humans and Chrisean herself, have an eternal hope in Yahweh or this creator deity. So this hope that she has is that one day he'll intervene, or one day he'll show himself to be loving, one day he'll show himself to care. And it's a hope, it's a promise that she's told herself that this deity will turn and will change and will eventually arrive and be a new person and love her, right? Well, same thing with Blueface. She has an eternal permanent hope in Blueface. But Blueface, if we know, is not going to change. It has no intention on changing, and is not going to give her genuine love because he doesn't see that as possible or real. Well, Yahweh isn't going to ever arrive and do that great intervention. And if he does, then she'd have to bring a sacrifice to Yahweh and feed him. That's how he'll show up. So this is what the elite know. This is what Hollywood knows. This is what the chosen people, the you wish community knows. Both Yahweh and Blueface are misogynistic or misogynist, meaning they subordinate females and women. Right? So all throughout the Old Testament, it's thorough. It's without a doubt. Yahweh created females, or this God of the Old Testament created females, created them subordinate from Adam's rib to be not the head but the tail, or not the head but the body, to be subjugated and to be submissive to the male. Well, according to the book, according to the Jewish culture, that's what they believe. So we know that Chrisean believes in that God of the Old Testament, which is misogynist or subordinates females. So there's no way to get around that. So both Yahweh and Blueface believe females should be submissive, should be subordinate. And if you follow anything that Blueface says, at the bottom line, you'll see him quote the Bible and say, this is in the Bible that a female should be subject and should be subordinated to the male. The next reason why she stays in this abusive relationship, this evil relationship, is because Yahweh lied to her, or Yahweh lies to her. So meaning she's deceived. She doesn't know that Yahweh doesn't actually love her. She doesn't know that Yahweh has subordinated and hates or is misogynistic against females or women. She doesn't know that Yahweh is racist. She doesn't know these things. She was lied to, or the literature that promotes and has spread this deity, it doesn't give a verbatim revelation of the nature and the mentality of this deity. It lied for him. So he lied to Chrisean, and that's why she's devoted to the deity. Same thing with Blueface. So Blueface lied to her about himself, about their relationship, about how he feels about her, etc., etc. So take her desperate love and devotion and her what would appear to be sincere surrender to Yahweh more than most black people in the black community, especially from the hood. Well, that's her same devotion to Blueface. It's the same psychology. She doesn't know that she was lied to. She doesn't know she's being manipulated with blessings. You get it? Next is Yahweh eats her pain. So if you deal with the metaphysics and the real reality of this entity and all of his hosts, which are like his children or those associated with him in the spiritual world, they're known to, in many ancient texts, expose that they eat our fear, they eat our suffering, they eat our pain. Literally, they eat it through our hormones and through our secretions. This is why the elite do what they do, these rites or rituals that they perform, because they're feeding these entities. They're getting empowered by these entities. Well, the same community of people in the ancient world that worship this entity, this demon, or this supposed God, is the same people who are running the world today. Why? Because they were empowered by this God by making a blood covenant or oath that they'd feed him. Feed him what? The fear and the horror of the secretion of these hormones, this pain from animals, whether it be cows, bulls, sheep, and also humans and children, but not Hebrew children, but other people's children, and etc. And through this covenant, they're able to keep their position of blessings. Okay, so all of this is in the Old Testament. You just have to read it thoroughly. So this entity eats pain. It eats suffering. That's why the continual peace offerings, sin offerings, all of these different sacrifices, all throughout the book of Leviticus, throughout the book of Deuteronomy, throughout the book of Leviticus. It was established in the book of Exodus. And you read out throughout the whole Old Testament, whether it be the prophets, the Tanakh, the Torah, it's all throughout. That's what Yahweh is intending to do with all of the people that come from the ghetto or the hood, from Baltimore, from all of the people of the world that are suffering. He eats it. And basically it is the elite families, which are the same families in this text that are the chosen people. It's their job to offer these humans as sacrifices, as cattle or as animals. That's why they call us what? Goyim. Goyim means cattle. Well, Yahweh is, Chrisean and all of the black community is being offered to Yahweh as cattle so he can eat our blood or eat our pain, while the chosen people remain blessed and enjoy and satisfied by Yahweh's favor. That is their covenant. That's what they were promised. They worship, now we're starting to realize who they actually worship. Sounds very familiar, right? Well, yeah, that you're right. You're putting the pieces of the puzzle together on your own. You're correct. It is the devil. That's who Yahweh has been the whole time. Whether you say the devil is his son or Satan is his son that works for him, or whether you want to say he is the malevolent entity himself. Yes, he's the creator of evil. He's the one that's causing this harm. He's the one that created this world to imprison our souls. So why? To eat our pain, to eat our suffering. So hopefully you understand. So Blueface, what? Eats Chrisean Rock's pain. He benefits. That's where he gets his energy from. That's where he gets his pride from. That's where he gets his boost from crushing her and causing her to suffer. He drinks her fear. He loves seeing her anxiety. He loves seeing her in chaos. Well, so just like Blueface eats her pain, so does Yahweh. So that's another point. The next one is that Yahweh needs her worship, right? Needs her worship, or it demands her worship. Well, Blueface demands Chrisean's worship. He needs her worship, so that's why the relationship is hard to break. Then she goes into guilt, or she goes into feeling insecure or inadequate. Well, then she'll crawl right back to Yahweh, seeking for forgiveness, seeking to be accepted, seeking to be validated. She'll crawl right back to Blueface in the same spirit, seeking to be accepted, seeking to be validated, seeking to be embraced and received back again as worthy enough. Same spirit, same force that is subdued her, in the same formula. So Yahweh and Blueface is, or this creator deity and Blueface is basically one and the same person in her life, and she has the same psychology towards them both. And that's why the severity of her devotion is the same with both. She pours her whole heart into it because it's a psychological deception that she's under. But this is why Chrisean still loves Blueface. Like I said, for the same reason that she still loves Yahweh. And to see her level of devotion to Yahweh, I think she got Yahweh tattooed on her, right? Or she wears a Yahweh necklace and she has a Yahweh song. She goes all the way out. Like most black people, most Americans don't even use that name, the sacred name of this creator deity. Well, she went all the way the same way. She went all the way out for Blueface. Chrisean went all the way out for devotion to Blueface, and she got him tattooed on her face. Right, I think she even got his name tattooed. You can be corrected, but she did get his face tattooed on her face. So that shows her heart, that shows her intentions, that she's psychologically misguided by a certain type of religion, a certain type of theology and perception of life, which is Yahwehism and the worship of this created deity, which is a wicked diabolical entity, and also Blueface. She's been misguided and deceived about him. But she's going to try to see the best in both. I'm not saying this tape or this video is going to change her mind or her heart about her religion. Most likely not. Well, that's why she still loves Blueface, because she still loves Yahweh. Same difference. So, well, Yahweh and Blueface are very similar. It's a masculine principle that is absolutely the same principle in nature, whether it shows up in a human or whether it shows up amongst the planets or amongst the forces of nature. Blueface is a child of his father, of that entity. Blueface is also a child and has the Christ within him as well. All males do. But we also have this demiurge, or this tyrant masculine oppressive entity in us as well. Blueface could have been a Christ figure in her life. He could have. But instead, he chose to be a false god or a demiurge in her life, which is basically Yahweh. He chose to be that entity and deceive her and require or demand worship from her in lifelong devotion. Okay, so in this sense, then Blueface is not the Christ. He's not performing that role. He's performing the role of Yahweh or the demiurge, and Chrisean would be Sophia. If you know anything about the Gnostic mysteries or the mysteries, the Magdalene mysteries, you would know exactly what these teachings are. But with that, Blueface in this analogy will be Yahweh or the demiurge, this creator deity, and Chrisean is Sophia. In one sense, she's be the lower Sophia called Prunikos. When she's in a relationship with him, that's why she's so hypersexual and chaotic. That would be Sophia Prunikos or Sophia the harlot. But the higher Sophia, she's also demonstrated that when she tries to get in her spirituality, right? That would be Sophia Pistis or Sophia Barbello. So she's an embodiment of many of the Sophias, these particular two, not just one form. But the issue that she has is that she has, just like Sophia is blinded and is overcome by ignorance by this Yahweh or creator figure that created this world and trapped her here in lifelong or eternal devotion to him as long as she doesn't awaken to what's called gnosis or inner knowledge or the truth. That this creator deity is using love, using money, using fame, using power to deceive her and seduce her, to trap her here with another cycle of what? Suffering, of pain, so he can receive his sacrifices and offerings and eat. That's all the deity's concerned with, is eating. That's why she still loves Blueface. Peace.